M4-78, The Lost Droid World. Cut early on in the development of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, this planet was later restored in a somewhat controversial mod. While many of the criticisms of this mod are rather subjective, there is one clear objective problem with the planet, and that is the lag. This lag and its source are the subject of today's video. This video is an experiment of sorts. The aim is to identify the source of this lag and come up with some potential solutions that might possibly be implemented in order to fix it. This video you use a combination of the typical 30fps 1080p screen captured footage using DxTory and a few physical screen recordings of my monitor in order to offset the lag that comes from using my recording software. While this video will not lead to any sort of solution, it will provide hopefully some insight into exactly why this lag is caused, and hopefully provide the platform for somebody to make a potential solution. So please, join me as we experiment on the lag in M4-78. Okay, for our first experiment here on M4-78, our first objective is to try and identify a center point for the lag. This will really lead us towards a potential source. To do this, I went all around into tons of different places in the industrial zone module, and I essentially, while monitoring frame rate, moved the camera around and tried to find the angle that led to the highest drop in frames. So you'll see a couple of clips here. They might look a little janky on YouTube, so some of them will be replaced with static images or screen recordings. Now, as you can see by this, a lot of these areas are dropping below 30 FPS, which I find completely unacceptable. This game should definitely run better than that. I usually get an easy 60 FPS, 30 while recording for sure. If we look at this screen here, it shows us the four most prominent areas that I showed in these clips before, with the angles that I was facing. Now, as you can see, it kind of shows a bit of a pattern. Anytime you're facing the R&D department, you're getting that increase in lag, which leads me to believe that the lag is coming from somewhere in that area. And our next experiment is going to investigate that. Alright, now that we have identified the R&D area as one of the main culprits of the lag in this zone, I've gone ahead and found the worst performing spot I could find, which is specifically in this screenshot here. While standing in this exact direction, anywhere facing towards the actual internals of the R&D department results in significant lag. As you can see by this clip here, which probably doesn't look that great on YouTube, it is definitely a result of facing in that direction. If we look here, which is us halfway through the R&D department, we'll notice the frame rate increases back to 30 FPS, which leads me to believe that it is a summation of all the droids in this area. The only reason that we're getting so much lag in this area is because we have to face all of these droids and render them all at once. It seems to be the most logical explanation. As we can see here, when looking away we don't get the lag, and when facing it from the other direction, once again the lag returns. But as we move through the area, getting some of the droids behind the camera, we'll notice that the performance increases, and even if we face off to the side, so that the droids aren't in the direction of the camera, we are given a performance boost. And lest you think that this is simply because I'm recording and that's what's dropping the frame rate, here is a really horrible looking video of me recording my monitor that does show the frame rate, and it shows exactly the same thing that I was reporting before with the low FPS in aiming in certain areas. For our next experiment, we're going to take a look and see how some of the different graphical options within Kotor 2 affects the lag in the specific laggy spot by the barrels. So for this, I'm going to use the maximum graphics settings as our baseline, which means full anti-aliasing, full everything while recording. As with any good experiment, we're going to start out with a baseline, so graphics in these shots are maxed out. Now I'm just going to use some screenshots, but you're going to have to trust me on this. I was getting 6 to 7 FPS while recording. I just didn't want to put this here in video form since it'll look awful once it goes up on YouTube. So our baseline that we want to beat is 6 or 7 FPS while recording while looking in this exact spot. The next graphical option that I decided to test was shadows, so I went ahead and disabled shadows while leaving everything else the same. and the results were very, very interesting indeed. So once again, these are the same graphics options, but as you can see here, we're getting 22 FPS, a massive improvement. Now keep in mind that anti-aliasing and anisotropic filtering were really high in this footage, and that compounds with the lag created by shadows, since it has to do all the edge smoothing around the shadows. But I think it goes to show that the number of placeables that cast shadows in this area is a very likely culprit of this lag. In my experiments, isolating grass made no difference, and this makes a lot of sense since there's no actual grass on this planet. Since shadows seem to be the biggest contributor to the lag, I thought that I would turn them off and then turn off both anti-aliasing, anisotropic filtering, frame buffer effects, and soft shadows, leaving our graphics options very degraded, however, allowing us to take a closer look to see if anything else is kind of compounding onto the lag created by shadows. This clip here, which might look still a little bit laggy, shows us that we get about 24 FPS to 25, which shows us that all of the other factors don't seem to make much of a difference when compared to just changing the shadows, which I think reaffirms my point, showing us that shadows in this module are the contributing factor to the lag. This next graphical test will have everything reduced to the bare minimum. Textures will be on low and everything will be off, and we're going to see what effect this has on our frame rate. Now, this clip here shows that we are still getting lag for some reason, however it has been vastly alleviated, although I don't think I should have to reduce the graphics setting this much just to get a chance at 30 FPS, which shows that the placeables are still causing a lot of lag in and of themselves. Now that we tested the graphics options, I've gone around and looked at all the different lines of droids in the R&D department. I found that they all, for the most part, cast various shadows, and in particular droids with longer shadows seem to be creating the most lag. So what's the takeaway here? The takeaway here is that the cause of the lag on M4-78 in the industrial zone primarily stems from the shadows of the placeables. Some other side tests have shown some lighting effects and other sort of things add to the problem, but the biggest problem is the placeables cause shadows. The way to fix this, in my mind, would be to reduce the number of placeables. For example, these barrels here that we're looking at could be culled, and nothing will really be lost as far as I'm aware, since only one of those barrels is actually openable. The other thing that we could change is removing some of the droids from the lineup inside the actual development department. Now, it kind of sucks since this looks really cool, but at the same time, these droids don't add any function and they take away from performance, which in my mind is not acceptable. Removing these droids could vastly improve the performance of this entire zone, and it'll help people who like to make videos, and it'll also help people playing the game on lower end rigs. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you liked it as much as I enjoyed making this. This was kind of a really fun project. It's very different than a lot of the stuff I do, and I'm not quite sure how it's received, but I very much appreciate you for watching it. This also isn't some sort of video that's calling out the mod authors or anything like that, so please don't take it as such. This is a simple analysis to try and come up with the possible causes and give people the information they need to create possible solutions or to avoid the problem. I know I initially wanted to record a video series of me doing this planet, but due to the strange FPS loss in this area, I scrapped it since I refuse to release any footage that's not 1080p 30 FPS for the most part, since it tends to look very garbled on YouTube to begin with. If you like this video and you want to see more kind of analysis from me, consider subscribing and please leave a comment down below letting me know, so I know to make more videos like this. I can examine a lot of other things in other games and do a lot of stuff like that. You can also check out my game reviews. I have done 2 so far. I've covered the Talos Principle and I have covered Distance, and they are very similar to this one in that they're rambly and they contain a lot of analysis and thought and scripting. Since most of this video is scripted other than this last part here, and you'll notice I'm rambling a lot more, but that's because I didn't script this part, which you can see I'm awful at going off script. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please check out some of my other videos. Thank you very much for subscribing and all that jazz. I've been Zool, and I hope that you have an excellent day.
I can't help but notice you coming down the street, smiling so dearly at everyone you meet. And I can't help but notice you throwing me a glance, a wink telling me there's a chance. I've I've just got eyes for